This summer, the inaugural Commonwealth Esports Championships will be heading to Birmingham. We cannot wait to be partnering with esports for the first time. For the Commonwealth Games Federation, this will be an extraordinary moment. We know the time is now. Esports is continuing to grow in popularity, particularly amongst young people. We are continuing to explore how it can align with Commonwealth sports. The pandemic has caused a real change in approach across the world, and people have started to embrace new technologies to stay connected. There's also a new appreciation of the role of esports in connecting people virtually in a competitive environment. It is fitting that these championships will be in Birmingham due to huge interest in esports across the country. The British Esports Federation was established in 2016 to promote esports, increase levels of awareness, and inspire world-class future talent. It has been hugely successful thanks to the leadership of Chester King and his team. We know the economic potential of esports, and we hope this can enhance the Commonwealth Games product. We believe this new partnership can create an inclusive, progressive and visionary future for the entire Commonwealth. The Commonwealth has a combined population of 2.5 billion people, of which more than 60% are under 30 years of age. And our wish is to inspire these young people to be a force for good. Esports provides a wonderful vehicle for this. The Commonwealth Esports Championships enables us to explore how esports and our games can work together. No doubt there will be lots of key learnings on both sides. There has been a great deal of work to reach this point, and it has all been worth it. Together with esports, our future is more exciting than ever before.
Great. Thank you. So look, that was a wonderful address there by Dame Louise Martin. No relation of mine. Just thought I'd point that out. But some really interesting statistics there. And I think when we talk about today in the session we've had, the words that came out, strong grassroots, okay? What happens here? How do we develop talent? How do we take young, talented individuals who come through your schools, through your colleges, and where do they go and what's the pipeline for them, both as players and as talent and for that ecosystem? How do we normalize it? That was a really interesting point Freeman made earlier, which was how do we do the hearts and minds piece with stakeholders and with parents and guardians, importantly, about this, why this is important, the virtues and the values of esports, and how do we get them to understand that? For me, something like this is a great way to do it. 44 years of age, sports being a big part of my life, looking at this now and seeing that, this is when I started getting the calls from my parents, from my friends going, oh wow, I saw that thing about the Commonwealth Games doing something with esports. Yeah, that must be something that's really interesting. So I think it's kind of woven in now, I think, to people's psyche. And the reason we know that is that we have some really interesting statistics, okay? The bottom one is the one that blows us away. 1.08 billion people saw that announcement. You know, that's a huge number of people. Almost a sixth of the population of the entire world have seen that announcement. And that is, as I understand it, the single biggest announcement in Commonwealth Games Federation's history. So we know that it's important. We know that it's now kind of getting woven into the psyche. But the important thing for us on top of that is to make it a really good esports event, okay? Because the next question comes, after all the questions about sports, esports, is will it be an event that is interesting to esports fans? So we took that on board and said, well, we need to make sure we have some really good titles here, titles that people know, titles that people love from different parts of the world, parts of the Commonwealth. And we need to get a good proportion of the Commonwealth involved. So there are 28 member federations that will be representing 5 continents across the Commonwealth and 350 players. Of those 350 players, 1 in 3, I can tell you right now, are female, and I think that number will go up slightly once we actually get the final list of players attending. So it's going to be in Birmingham this year. 6th and 7th of August. It's incredibly exciting. It happens whilst the Commonwealth Games is taking place, so it really kind of synergizes the two. I have to say this because we do say this, it isn't a formal medal event yet for the Commonwealth Games. Those conversations are ongoing. They're naturally the conversations people look to Victoria 2026, where it's the Commonwealth Games will next be staged, and then maybe further looking towards 2030 as well. But it's here in Birmingham, and that's really, really exciting for us in the UK. It's brilliant for British esports. It's something that we wanted to kind of get hold of and say, this is an inspirational moment for us to start really kind of sinking into the psyche of parents and stakeholders, as we've discussed. Sorry, let me move on back. So game titles, really important, okay? That we have to think about that when we're talking about esports. We've got the eFootball series. Some of us may know it historically as Pro Evolution Soccer. Huge game globally. FIFA maybe in the UK takes precedent, but globally has a huge following. 400 million mobile downloads. I didn't know that until a couple of months ago. We've got Rocket League there. Everyone knows where Rocket League is. We're talking getting up towards 100 million registered accounts for Rocket League now globally, and Dota 2 with its multi-millions of monthly players. So look, a huge, absolutely huge opportunity. So look, I think from a kind of competitive side, I think we knock off the kind of, is this a good esports event or not? Is this going to have good game titles or not? So we're really proud and excited about that. I think for the next kind of step for me, I think is kind of talking about how we run this event over a period of time, because we're talking now about bringing all of these nations to Birmingham and to Nottingham first to have a kind of formal knockout series here. So all of these 28 nations are going to come to Nottingham early in August, the 1st of August, and spend 4 days here at the Confetti Institute, so thanks so much to Confetti for that. And they're going to host a Jeff House, and that house is going to have different events taking place. It's going to feed them, it's going to house them, and it's going to allow them to compete and get to the medal stages. And then those competitors are going to be shipped across to Birmingham to the ICC on the 6th and 7th. And they're going to compete on those live stages for medals, which I think is fantastic. And that ability to show medals over money for a period of time is really good in terms of saying there's more to an esports competition than just winning money, right? It's about representation. It's about being there and really kind of supporting your flag and your team. So we look forward to that medal presentation, all the things that are going to happen at that particular moment in time. So the other thing to note is just before that, on the 5th of August, we're going to have an education summit, and that's going to bring world leaders of esports together for a forum to talk about the future of esports, what that's going to look like, to talk about some of the key things, and Chester will mention them shortly, around academies, safer spaces for people to play, standardizing, creating pathways and frameworks for education and for coaching, and really looking at that whole piece at this moment in time. I think another part of that conversation that will be really interesting for us will be around health and wellness. I think today, I thought was really interesting in the panel was how we discussed the whole piece around how do you change the mindset of an individual to think about performance as a critical, health and wellness is a critical part of performance. And I think when we look at esports, it doesn't do the same kind of job as sports in terms of how it promotes it. So what we talk about a lot about in esports is good internet, low ping rate, high processing speed, the best headset, the best mouse, we don't talk so much about the performance metrics of health and wellness. And I think a job for all of us in esports is to be able to actually get those metrics out there, to say to somebody, hey, it's great that you buy all of this hardware, and that's really important, but if you do these things as well, this will really move the needle for you on a performance metric. And I know we're a way away from there, but I know the Global Esports Federation and British Esports are aligned in our thinking about making that happen moving forward. I think the other really critical part of this for me, the Commonwealth, and what Dame Louise said here is events like this primarily are all about infrastructure. They're all about legacy. They're all about inspiration. The event that takes place on the 6th and 7th is the showcase. It's the nice bit to see. But importantly, it's the messaging that goes around it, and it's the legacy that it leaves behind. So last week in Birmingham, a deal was signed, a 10-year strategy agreement between the Global Esports Federation and the West Midlands Combined Growth Authority, looking at how they really embed esports across the region and develop those kind of pipelines and talent pathways. And Freeman said earlier something that was really interesting, which was about access. How do people get access to kit? Some people have it. Many of you will probably know this, but I know Ofsted looked at this a year or so ago, and they said 1 in 10 young people don't have access to a mobile, a laptop, or a PC at home. 1.8 million people, and 800,000 of those, I think, only have access to mobile internet. So how do we put great kit in localized spaces to level the playing field to develop the talent? And I think looking at events like this, showcasing for brands to move it forward, showing them that it is a place to be, and it is a place where young people are passionate and advocate, is a really, really important part of what we're going to do. So that's just a kind of a short window into what we're doing with the Commonwealth. There's lots more for you to kind of read and see about. If you go to commonwealthesports.gg, ticket sales are there, more information, there are videos, there are a bunch of different resources you can look at, and those resources will certainly build out over a period of time. So I'm going to invite Chester King up onto the stage in a moment. He's going to kind of wrap up, but I want to offer an opportunity to give you a couple of thoughts, but also to do a bit of a Q&A from the day, because I think that's really important. Shortly, we will put together our vision document for 2025. It's our next 3 years look forward. If I'd have thought about it, I would have probably just captured everything scribbled down on a piece of paper from all of these comments and said, I think we should just do all of these things, and that sounds like about the right thing for Vision 2025. I think you're going to see infrastructure support as a big part of what we do. You're going to see health and wellness as a thread through what you do. I think we're going to look at how do we support resourcing and business cases for colleges and schools? How do we create safer communities and better spaces and more inclusive spaces? I think they're very much the foundations of what we're going to do in our Vision 2025 document, and certainly I think the core of what we've done today. So before I invite Chester up, it's a great opportunity. I know you've had a whole day, lots of things to think about, and then some lunch and some breaks. Are there any key questions that you want to ask the team? They're all here. Chester's here, Tom's here. Anything at all, just raise your hand, and if it's anything about the Commonwealth, any observations or comments, then throw them across.
It's for yourself, actually, about the Commonwealth. I come from more of a political sport, philosophy of sport background, and there was 2 terms that the lady on the screen said that kind of stood with me. It was the economic value of esports and the Commonwealth product, as she called it. I can't help but feel maybe, I don't know, rewind the clock, maybe even 8 years to Glasgow 2014 or so. I just want to know, what was the nature of, I suppose, the collaboration between, let's say, the Global Esports Federation and the Commonwealth? Is it more, I personally would think Commonwealth Games have actually got more to benefit than esports do have to benefit from the Commonwealth, simply for the fact there's more economic value, like say, in esports these days. in the UK, it's easy to perceive the Commonwealth Games as a massive event, and it is only second to the Olympics. But outside the Commonwealth, quite frankly, it's little known. So again, just maybe for how involved you was or anyone else in the British esports, I want to know basically who was asking who for the collaboration in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, Chester, feel free to kind of jump in at any point on this. I mean, firstly, it's kind of a third of the world's population, and I appreciate that, you know, yeah, sure. And I mean, we've certainly had conversations with people in different parts of the world who would say, yes, what's the Commonwealth Games and what does it mean? I think very much it's been a kind of iterative conversation between both partners. I think Global Esports Federation looks very carefully at saying, well, actually, how do we work with sports? You know, we're seeing, and you're absolutely right, we're seeing in certain cases the decline of, or the increased age viewership of sports, some interesting statistics around football. You know, the average age of, I've said this quite a few times, the average age of a Manchester United fan in the Stretford End from 1967 to 2007 is drastic. You know, you're talking about a teenager to somebody who's my age. But I think you're also seeing, and I think this is where sports has something to gain, I think you're also seeing the reversal of that in things like F1. So if you look at F1 at this moment in time, you know, it took the kind of streaming and pandemic together with a fantastic Netflix documentary, Drive to Survive, and they reversed the trend where, you know, at one point they were staring down the barrel of a very small segment of young people actually engaging in their product, and that's now the fastest growing market range for them. So I think when you start to look at that, I think it would be remiss of any kind of sports body not to be looking at that at this moment in time and saying, okay, what does that mean for us? How do we explore engaging those communities? Because yes, it's important that we're a sports event, but we're also more than a sports event. You know, we leave legacies behind with us. We want to leave education and inspiration and opportunity, and hopefully move events like the Commonwealth Games into all different areas of the Commonwealth and then leave that legacy behind. So I think it's a bit of a mix in terms of who needs who the most and how that works. But I think the collaboration works. And I know we've had these conversations before and people have looked at these different things. But for me, I think really importantly, if we want to kind of win the hearts and minds of parents, and we also want to engage young people, and then we want to bring it all together, something like this isn't a bad way to look at doing it. And I think we should keep exploring those avenues.
Mitterrand actually had as part of his manifesto was bringing the esports into the Olympics. Though I love them dearly, how are we going to bring British esports into the Olympics and beat the French?
Do you? I mean, look, I think from my perspective, I think the IOC have looked at this, and Chester will probably answer better than I will because of his position in terms of advising the IOC on esports. So I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, so they announced about 6 weeks ago the Olympic Virtual Series. So this is you must stand on the stage. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so yeah, so they announced in Singapore the Olympic Virtual Series. So that's going to happen next year in Singapore, potentially in Paris just before the Olympics. And the IOC's view is around virtual sports. So they want to promote video games that are the same values or the same titles as their sports, right? Which makes sense. But they are going to introduce some demonstration esports as well. So what's interesting is we speak really closely with the British Olympic Association, Andy Anson, great guy. And we have this understanding that if the video game includes a sport, a physical action, a sport, so like Swift, that's British cycling. That's not us. If it's esports, then it is us. So we're kind of navigating. And under UK classification, esports is a game like chess and bridge, but not a sport. In other countries, chess and bridge is a sport, like in Poland. So esports is sports. And so when we set up the IOC's esports and gaming liaison group in 2019, the first point on the conversation was, let's not discuss if esports is a sport or not. Let's not have that argument. But what has happened over the last 3-4 years has been the IOC are very clear, which I think it kind of makes sense, to reinforce their sports. You can, one of them is virtual taekwondo. So I don't know if you've seen that, a company called Refact, which is, we're heavily involved with the Global Esports Federation. And this is an incredible opportunity where you could be in your living room, Melita could be in her living room, and you're actually competing in taekwondo, but you're actually having to do the moves. So you can compete with any sex, any size, and any shape, but also you're not having the physical impact on your body. And we were at an event a month ago with IBM, and the guy came up to us and said he had to stop playing taekwondo because he was being injured so much, but he liked this. So I think what we're going to see with the IOC, and I agree about trying to beat the French, is that there'll be a kind of like this hybrid model. And I think, talking about the Commonwealth Esports Championships, Global Esports Federation signed a deal or an MOU in May 2020 about this partnership. And I think what's interesting about our model for the CEC is we're doing a parallel event. If you go to Hangzhou later this year at the Asia Games, they're doing it as a medal event. And then the Olympics are doing a virtual series. So I think at the moment, as Dave said, look, we're all trying to work this out. As British esports, we're very clear about, we want to improve British talent. And when I, got involved in British esports and went to the government to get permission to do it in 2015, I was, I'm very proud to be British, and my uncle was a double Olympian, and I was tired of going to esports events and not seeing British people win global events, and that was one of the reasons. But then I understood about what a great activity and how inclusive esports is, and then we went on this incredible journey on education. I'd like to thank everyone involved in education, how impressed globally people are with the UK and what we're doing, and you're an amazing teacher, and take this, you're one of our shining examples. So I think we're living an amazing time where we are understanding about a balance in life and how important good mental health is, and esports is part of that journey. What my only caution about the IOC route is if this isn't about trying to force everyone to play sport. That would be my concern. But we are working very closely with British Olympic Association from that point of view, but we're very focused on the virtual series. But we're just waiting to find out what the esports titles will be for that. Long answer, sorry.
Yes, I think we've got one more.
Is that? Just conscious of time.
Hi, thank you. I just want one more broad question, I suppose. Do you think that esports' potential in the Olympics, but also the Commonwealth Games, and also more broadly in education, is bottlenecked by the fact that the underlying video games are private IP?
Yeah. Sorry, it's all right. Yeah. So yeah, as I just said, so I think the model for the Olympics is they're going to do the virtual series for the next few years. It definitely can't be in Paris 24 as a medal event. It might be in LA 28. As I say, the whole world is waiting to see what happens in Birmingham and how it reacts. As I say, there's this argument about sport or not sport. And then with the IP, it is different to sport. The publishers own the rights, but what's happening for example, the Global Esports Federation works with 20 publishers, and they've given the free rights for us as a country to run our national qualifiers, then do the regionals, and then come here. So what they're doing is they're changing their business model to allow us to represent our country. So, again, we're so early on this. This is the first big event like this that's happening, but it's kind of a watching brief. I'm slightly conscious of time, and I just want to do a quick few minutes on this before you guys go around. So is that all right if do you want to kind of set up?
Your side.
Yeah.
Do you want a chair, or are you all right standing?
No, so I'm going to try and whiz through this in about 10 minutes or 7 minutes.
Left and right.
Great. Okay, so first of all, thank yous to everyone who came today. Really appreciate you taking your time off to understand more about it. I'd like to thank all the speakers, all the production team, everyone at Confetti here for hosting us, and our sponsors. Without our sponsors, we wouldn't be here today. So Pearson, Dell Technology, Alienware, Intel, AOC, and Confetti. we've had an amazing 12 months, and it's been very challenging, but we were the only activity that was happening as an after-school activity. We got a lot of praise within government and local government for creating an activity for the youth to carry on with. And what I've got here is just some of the brands to people understand what's happened for us over the last 12 months, and then we're going to talk about what's the next 12 months. So we originally were called British Esports Association, and that was kind of the advice that we got from the British government. What happened in December 2019 was the formation of the Global Esports Federation, of which we're a founding member. And during this time, and talking to the Commonwealth, we obviously can't be Britain as a team in the Commonwealth. We're England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. So we had to change our branding and where we're going. So we're now British Esports, like British Cycling or British Triathlon. We've obviously got our Student Champs brand, which obviously is happening this weekend, which is really exciting. Then we've got our Women in Esports initiative, which is really exciting for us, and and the diversity angle is really on our agenda. And what's brilliant, again, at a Global Esports Federation, I think we're around 33% women in our board and all the activities we're doing, which we're going to talk about. And then I've got a new logo, which we're still kind of we've announced it, but we haven't firmed up on it because there's a bit of argument about should it have its own identity, and that's the National Esports Performance Campus. So for those that don't know Sunderland, this is the Stadium of Light, and the red square is our new facility that's going to be opening at the end of the year. So this is what we're calling the National Esports Performance Campus. Bizarrely, it was an old car dealership, but it had 8-meter high ceilings. It was an old Audi dealership. And we've repurposed this building. So in the middle now, we've just got planning about 3 weeks ago for an extension, got a great car park, and we're going to create different zones within it. So this is an artist's impression, but that gives you an idea. It's an 8-meter height space. So within the campus, we're having a dedicated arena, we're having 4 classrooms, we're having a sim room, we're having 2 streaming rooms, we're having a podcast room, and we are really going to try and help elevate the UK, again, to beat France at events by hosting teams, boot camps. We've bought actually 3 properties in Sunderland to help as gaming houses as well. So we're really excited about this. When it opens, we've got a slight delay because of the supply chain and steel, but we're going to be opening it hopefully then this year. So what is great is when you're inside, we've got some light in part of it, and you are looking over the stadium light. And as a football club, they've been incredibly engaging. There's a great foundation there as well that's been really supportive. So the idea, I don't know if anyone's been to Wembley or St George's Park, but they display jerseys on their side, and we've been collecting esports team jerseys since day dot. So we've got a kind of a collection of 100 jersey. Dom Sacco helped me at early stages, is there. But again, we'd like to show off, what a great journey we've been on. So something interesting, and we work with a number of Formula One teams as well. I'm not sure if we're going to have a Formula One car on the side of the wall, but that was artist's impression. So in our arena, we're going to have, it's a 16.5 meter by 3 meter video wall, and obviously fully functioning arena space, but for about 100 people. So quite small, but the ceiling height is 8 meters. So visually, it's going to be really strong. And we're trying to make this the best, because we're going to be the National Performance Centre, the best environment for people to train and get used to playing in front of an audience. And that's what we've seen, and people like Alex, who does a great job on performance, is there's, you're in a comfort zone if you're playing at home, but when you start playing in front of a crowd, it is different. And on our board, there's a guy called Odie who founded a team called Dignitas. He employed over 700 esports professionals, and he would do a trick of playing heavy metal music into headphones while they were gaming and talking, because they said, look, when the crowd gets going, you need to be able to filter that out and concentrate. So we're trying to create or replicate an environment where gamers will be able to play. But this isn't just about elite players. This is also, for us, we're going to be teaching, working with Sunderland College up there, our BTEC, but also be for people, other colleges to come and use the facilities. This is kind of a portfolio. The reason why I just wanted to highlight this is we've got this area at the bottom. I don't know if I've got a laser here, but where it says tarmac. So we're going to create a green environment. We're working with the RHS to try and create an environment that not only are we going to have high tech and the latest kit inside, but also a green space to get out and make sure people understand how important wellness is and how important the balance is for that. So working with people like Melita and Alex around performance space and quiet space is really important to us. Yeah, so this is what we're going to be redoing. So we've got planning permission to raise the walls. We're going to be changing this, green features, maybe water features, but inside are the classrooms and everything else. Just a few pictures. So I just briefly wanted to talk literally about 3 minutes about the Global Esports Federation. So this organization was founded in December 2019, and we were one of the founding members. They've got 118 member federations now. They're very strong, brilliantly on values, and this is a slide that's very important to us and to my chief exec, Paul Foster. I sit on the board, Melita sits on the board. And we're really proud on the journey that we've gone on, and we work with people like UNESCO, we work with a number of governments around the world, we work with a number of international federations in sport who are our members also. I think 27 other organizations as well as our members. We have a number of commissions, so everyone on this is volunteers. So we do this because we're passionate about esports industry and we're passionate about helping to create a better environment for children in the future. So all these different commissions and councils are here to try and help best practice a safe environment and just an ecosystem that, we've taken the best values we can. A number of people have come from the IOC who are involved in this to try and, for us to replicate the standards that they've set over the years. We held our first event, our big event, the Global Esports Games in Singapore in December. It was incredibly challenging because of COVID, but what was incredible was the numbers. We had 500 million views of this event. The biggest spike of our 4.4 live views was actually the draw. Which countries were going to play with whom. It was really interesting. We won a silver medal in the female Dota, top right. It was really interesting to see how our national team would react by winning a medal, and it was incredibly positive, and they were brilliant role models. We came fourth in 2 other competitions, so a bit of disappointment, but again, we managed their whole journey on that. It's something, how brutal sport can be, where you can win or lose. But for us, it was an incredible first event. And I'm up here on the left. I've got a number of our board. I'm with the sports minister of Singapore. They've taken it very seriously, and they're going to be hosting the Olympic Virtual Series next year. And that was our winning team. So as you can see, it was quite scary about the COVID situations. I was the only spectator in the room. I was the only person allowed. There was this wall. But Ruby and the team and everyone did a brilliant job, and we nearly got the gold medal. We lost to Singapore. But this is why, a pillar of what we do was to create new heroes. And I think, what is brilliant about the journey that we're on education is we know that not everyone can become a pro or an athlete, but we can create an ecosystem, a support mechanism around them by encouraging the youth to understand about the benefits of esports, or transferable skills about the benefits of working in esports. And I know that not everyone will carry on a career in esports, but what is brilliant is if we can do a great job of encouraging people to learn about new skills, then hopefully we as a country, not only this is important, but also giving people, improving their self-esteem and also giving them skills for future jobs. That's important for us. So I think 5 minutes over. So I think, Elliot, you're going to wrap up. But I just want to, again, thank you everyone for coming today. This is, we're back, and we're going to be doing this obviously next year. And the last thing, sorry, there is one thing that I've got to say, is we are going to be introducing in September, announcing in September, some student awards. So we as an organisation want to recognise the great work that students are doing during the BTEC and potentially at the university level as well. So we're going to be creating some awards around different categories, which we'll be announcing in September. Yeah, and thank you very much to Elliot as well for doing a great job. Thanks.
Thank you. Right, okay, so thank you all for being here today. It's been a really long day. I know you've travelled far and you've probably got further to travel. However, we did promise you the opportunity to go and tour around Confetti X. So That's fine, but I can only take you in groups of 20, and it's only going to take about 5 minutes each. So if you are interested in going to see the new facilities at Confetti X, where our finals will be taking place this weekend, please do come find me or any of the British Esports staff in the lobby wearing one of these T-shirts. But before we do go, can you all just raise your hands and give a big cheer and a clap to all of the people up in the gallery today who have worked really hard. Thank you ever so much. And yeah, other than that, I hope you all enjoyed the day. It was lovely to meet all of you. Me and the British Esports team, we're going to be around for a bit. So if you do have any questions you didn't get a chance to ask, do come find us. Thank you very much.